Welcome to this practice. It is a 200-hour yoga teacher training weekend here in Portland, Oregon. So this is a demonstration class for them. It's also open to the public, and you are also invited. Thank you for being here. We're going to be looking at the 5 Vayus again with a specific focus on the upper Vayus. So I can demonstrate for the students in the training how those Vayus get expressed. If you want to see the class we do for the first 2 Vayus and the sequence of these 2 classes, check it out here on the screen. That was a class from yesterday in their training. Okay, thanks for being here. I'll say more about the practice when we get underway, so let's begin. Welcome for practice. Once again, we're here to do some work with the Vayus, and today we'll be focusing on the upper 3 Vayus. Those are Vyana Vayu, Udana Vayu, and Prana Vayu. We will include the lower Vayus because they're very important for the whole system of prana to get recalibrated or rebalanced. So the process of that is Apana Vayu, like a downward pointing arrow, energy that moves downward or that helps to bring Vata dosha downward. The 5 Vayus are called the 5 forms of prana, also called the 5 forms of wind. And Vata dosha is like the wind, it's air and ether. So downward pointing arrow here. Samana Vayu, inward pointing arrows here. When Samana has its duty, when it's on duty, its job is to break down food particles, breaking it down from larger to smaller usable particles. That's called a catabolic process. And as that fire is breaking that stuff down, it then gets passed into the small intestine and goes through the colon, and what is to be absorbed as nutrients will get absorbed, and what is to be left as a waste product will go down. So I sometimes say samana passes its duty to apana vayu. So we don't have strong samana vayu if it's not a healthy bit of prana going on here. We may have weak digestion. We may have slow transit time. We may have the result of this weak digestion leading to things like leaky gut syndrome or food cravings or blood sugar imbalances. We may also have this going up instead of passing down from samana to apana. We could have GERD or acid reflux or gastroesophageal reflux disease. We might have heartburn. Those kinds of things would tell you that your pitta dosha is out of balance. And it could be that pitta has left its home here and gone up to the head, as it were. It's up in the mind, like burning the mind, as we say, burning the candles at both ends. Or getting like the feeling of burning eyes from looking at a computer. Your pitta is up here instead of being in the stomach. This is one key reason that we don't eat at the computer. Right? So if you send pitta up to the head, but you actually need the digestive fire to be in the abdomen, well, then it's not going to be there if it's occupied with driving, computers, conversations, planning, even like watching a sports event. We wouldn't recommend that you're eating and doing that. So we say, when you're eating, be eating. As Thich Nhat Hanh would say, when you're washing the dishes, simply wash the dishes. So when you're eating, simply eat. Then Vyana Vayu would be like arrows going out in all directions, because from the heart then, what has been absorbed and is in the bloodstream is now going to get disseminated out to all of the regions. You can think about like little delivery trucks going out and sending all the way to the cells and the fingertips and the toe tips and up to the brain and all the nutrients that are needed throughout your body. And Udana Vayu has an upward arrow at the throat, and it is intended to help us move prana upward. So specifically, the experience of prana now moving up in a healthy way to the mind to give us a lustrous meditation. And then prana vayu is in the head, and it has a couple different depictions. One is that it fountains around and encompasses the whole body. Like it then is showering upon us. But another illustration is that prana goes in and down. So that the prana is coming in to nourish the body. So in other words, what we eat, what we see, what we listen to, what we're experiencing in all of our senses, in pranayama, in asana, we're bringing prana into the body, high quality prana, we hope. And then that mixes with the other resources our body needs. So it's sort of classically understood that apana and prana vayu, when they're balanced, we experience meditation. We experience a certain kind of groundedness and a quality of consciousness. So we balance those two. They're the most widely discussed in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. You'll see yoga poses really for balancing apana and prana vayu. But we do use all 5 vayus. They are a part of daily life, and both yoga and Ayurveda, they overlap here on these sciences. So in this practice, we'll be relying more on Vyana Vayu, Udana Vayu, and Prana Vayu. We're going to focus in these regions. We're going to rely on Samana and Apana Vayu for stability. If you'd like to do a practice that focuses on those 2 vayus and then come back to this practice, you can see that listed on the YouTube channel also. So let's take a seat. I'm excited to teach this. You will need 2 blocks. You'll also want to have a stable wall space, which could be a door frame. It doesn't have to be a whole wall. It could be just where the door frame is, or it could be, if you don't have a whole wall, it could be the side of the sofa if it's the right height, or it could be the corner of a room if you want to use that, but you'll see when we get there. Okay, please rest your hands in your lap and close your eyes. And let's first find out, how is prana already as you're showing up for this class? And when you gaze inside and you sense in your body, where is there vibrancy? Where is there dullness? Where do you sense that you're embodied or disconnected? If you check with a sense of grounding, do you have a felt sense of some energy that moves downward, is connected to the earth? Bring awareness to your stomach region, the solar plexus region, and to see if you have a relationship with this part of your body. Do you sense that you're able to receive the breath in both the lowest part of your pelvis and the mid-abdomen? Does the breath also feel welcomed into the solar plexus, the kidneys, the stomach, liver, spleen? The quality of energy moving from your heart outwards. Goes up to the head, down your arms, down through the torso. When you're standing, you'll sense it going down the legs. When you're seated, the energy of Vyana Vayu is going to concentrate in the trunk, arms, and head. Connect to your throat region. Does it feel like it's aligned from the trunk to the crown of your skull? Do you sense the breath can easily pass through the throat, or perhaps any sense of tension that might be there? you connect to the region of the head, what is the quality of prana here? Does the mind feel dull? Is it jumping about? Is it like simmering popcorn, popping about? Does it fly off like a flock of birds? Or does the mind and prana in the head generally feel connected and present? With awareness of these things, let's join the hands together in Anjali Mudra. But may our practice provide protection in the form of protecting us from the ways in which our mind could intrude on this practice, could become more forceful, more coercive, or distractive. May this practice provide nourishment, nourishing prana, but also nourishing our optimism and courage, our clarity of mind. May the practice show us when to be vigorous and to do that when it's necessary and not when it's not necessary. And may this practice help us to overcome tamas and to return to tejas, the luminous. And may we not feel impatient with ourselves or with each other along the way. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. You may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. Open your eyes. So we're going to do some work starting from the upper, moving down into the lower, and then we'll use that lower sense of stability to come back up to really explore the heart, neck, and head. So I'd like you to come to all fours, and you don't need padding for your knees unless you have a very firm floor that you're on. I would like you to have the 2 blocks nearby and available. And I guess that's how it happens, that the mat gets crooked so easily. Okay, so what we're going to be exploring is in the sort of category of pose called thread the needle pose, which is a contemporary name, thread the needle pose. We'll be going under in different angles for the arm so that we can access different regions of the neck and the upper back. So let's start with table pose at a base, and then take your left arm and reach it under the right arm, slide it horizontally. So when you come down, you're going to have the left side of your head, the left shoulder, left upper arm, left elbow on the floor. And if your left shoulder doesn't meet the floor, please place a blanket down so your shoulder has support and your head is not bearing more weight than necessary. And as you're twisting to the right, use the force of the right hand appropriately downward to rotate your rib cage to the right. Let's take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to ask you to press down into your right arm, return to table pose, and sweep the left arm out to the side. So this is called one arm table pose. And then place your left hand. Take the right hand, slide it under. Bring your right shoulder down. Bring the right side of the head down. Again, please place a blanket if your shoulder needs more support. Press down for the left hand to help rotate your upper chest and shoulders to your left. Allow the breath to come in for the nose, into the back hemisphere of the body, down into your pelvis. With your next exhale, press into your left arm and sweep your right arm out to the side like an airplane. And then place it down to table pose. Stretch back into child's pose. Go ahead and open the knees apart if you need to for any reason. And walk the hands forward, release the weight of your head down to the floor. And then inhale, come forward to table pose. Okay, this time I'm going to take the left hand and reach it up in front of the right hand. Turn your palm face up. And then as you come down, you're going to have the back of the left wrist, the back of the left forearm, the back of the left elbow, probably not the back of your shoulder. It doesn't reach as comfortably in this position. You can rest your head on your left arm, or if it reaches the floor, you can rest it on the floor. As you're rotating your hips, keep them kind of centered, but draw the left sitting bone a little further back than the right sitting bone. Press into your right hand to support your chest to rotate to the right. And then breathe in, press into your right arm, sweep the left arm out to the side, one arm table pose. And then place the left hand down. Step your right hand forward of your left, turn the palm face up, and as you're coming down, come to the back of your wrist, your forearm, your elbow. Perhaps you'll rest your head on the floor, perhaps you'll rest it on your right upper arm. Turn your chest to your left, and as you find the hips inclined to rotate, keep them centered, and just slide the right sitting bone back a little farther than your left sitting bone. And breathe in deeply, and on your exhale, press into your left arm strongly and sweep your right arm out to the side in one arm table pose. And then place your right hand on the floor. Let's put the two palms together, cross your thumbs, and then reach back to child's pose once more. Reach back, draw your hips all the way to your heels if you can, with the thumbs touching or overlapping and the hands closer to each other. Now rotate your outer elbows down towards the floor. Rotate the triceps down towards the floor. Widen your shoulder blades away from the base of your neck. Take a deep breath into the upper back, including, of course, the lower belly and the mid back, but emphasize the upper back with the inhalation. . And then inhale and come up to center. Now the palms are touching here in the middle for the moment. Let's step the right foot back to plank pose. And this might be one where you're going to watch what happens next. So when you take the right foot back to plank, you're basically clearing the runway on your yoga mat. And we're going to be ducking under with the left arm. So I ducked under there, and that means that you're going to also be curling the head towards your foot. So the back of the left hand, the back of the left forearm, the back of the elbow, upper arm, and the right hand is on the floor where you left it. So then the next thing is to bring the right knee down onto the left upper arm. And then rotate through your torso and your heart to the right. As you're breathing in and out through the nose here, listen for where the breath moves in your body. And try to place an emphasis on the mid back and the upper back. And then slide the right leg back out, press into your right hand, and rise up to one arm table pose. The right hand is centered. Take the left arm out to the side and raise your right leg. So now it's a one arm table pose with this sort of bird dog leg behind you. And then place your left hand with your right. Step the left foot back. And look under at that runway that you've just made. Reach your right arm under. Come to the back of your hand, the back of your arm. Probably you're also towards the back of your head. And bend the left knee. And as you rotate through your chest and heart to the left, focus the breath, moving in and out through the nose. And emphasize the back hemisphere of the body. And walk the left leg back to plank pose. Now press into your left arm and smoothly rise up to one arm table pose, and then lift the left leg up off the floor. So one arm table pose with a bird dog leg. And then touch both hands down, bring your knees down. Let's put the palms together in prayer position. Then turn them face up. And as you reach back with both hips, try to keep the arms stretched out in front. They're going to slide a little bit, but reach back with your hips. And once more, spread the shoulder blades across your upper back. And then walk your hands back towards your knees. And please rise up to Vajrasana. And take notice how things are feeling in the back hemisphere of your body. So you can also ask if you've sort of freed up any region of your body to more fully receive prana right now. Maybe you're wondering what those blocks are going to be for. So let's take the two blocks and place them on the floor. So there's a space between the two blocks, which we're also going to be using. So place the blocks so that they are shoulder width apart. And as you place the right hand on its block, drop the left palm down to the center on the floor. So your back is going to be asymmetrical. You're already twisting to your right, but you did that by dropping the left hand down into the lower space between the two blocks. So press firmly into your left arm. And notice how that's going to increase your twist. And then you can sweep your right arm out to one arm table pose. Press into the left arm again and inhale, twist to your right. And as you're twisting, try looking a little bit towards the space behind you. And then exhale and bring your right hand back to the block. Now press into your right arm to float the left hand back up to the block. And then drop the left hand down between the two blocks. Make the right arm strong so you're already initiating the strength of the twist. And then inhale, left arm out to the side and twist to your left. Look a little bit towards the space behind you. And then exhale, place your left hand on its block. Press into the left arm and use that to level the torso so that you're placing your right hand because the left arm gave you the strength to do so. Okay, so let's breathe in. Exhale, lower the left arm and strengthen it. Inhale, open to your right. Exhale, lower the right hand, press down. Breathe in. Exhale, right hand down. Press into your right arm firmly. It's already prepared. As you inhale, twist left. Exhale, return your left hand. The arm is straight. And as you press down, the right hand comes back to its block. Breathe in. Exhale, left hand down, make it firm. Inhale, twist to your right. Exhale, place your right hand and firm it so that your left hand floats over to its block. Inhale. Exhale, right hand down. Inhale, open to your twist. And exhale, return your left hand, press firmly so your right hand floats to the block. Now keeping your hands on the blocks, reach back to child's pose. Let's keep the armpits lifted and the arms rotating, the outer elbows and triceps down towards the floor, while the biceps rotate up towards the ceiling. And then relax the weight of your head. And then walk yourself back up to kneeling. Come to Vajrasana. So you're back up. And you can check and see, how are things now moving? In what region are you gaining access? Where does prana feel like it's welcomed? Okay. Now we're going to put one block flat on the floor between the two hands. I'm just checking that you guys have, yes, so good. All right, so we'll place the block like this, widthwise, like so, yeah. And then turn your palms face up on the sides of the block. When you turn the palms face up here and they can't scooch in towards each other, we also want the elbows to be shoulder width apart. And press firmly down into your elbows. Then curl the toes under and step back into plank pose on the elbows. Let's lift the base of the skull. Press down with the elbows, lengthen through the back of your waist and your sacrum. Let's energize the legs, including you can energize the inner thighs by pressing the feet magnetically towards each other. And breathe in As you exhale, lightly touch the knees down without moving the knees. Reach your hips backwards. Keep the elbows on the floor. The moment they feel like scooting apart is the place to pause. Breathe in. And exhale, come forward. Plank pose. Breathe in smoothly. Breathe out smoothly. Next exhale, touch the knees down. Reach back. And inhale, come forward with your torso. Exhale to plank pose. Lift the base of the skull and align your body from heel to head. Touch the knees down. Reach back with your hips. And then walk the knees forward and rise up to kneeling. And check again and see, okay, how are things feeling for you? You might notice that there's a lot of prana in the upper body now, and you may be having a craving for more energy or prana in the lower body to have that get distributed. So plank pose, we were using, of course, Prana Vayu is there, we're concentrating. Udana Vayu, we were toning the throat to be a channel. Dhyana Vayu, we're pressing through the arms and energizing circulation here. Samana Vayu, using the mid-torso. Apana Vayu, toning the lower belly. So now we're going to shift so that the legs get some energy in this case to balance out what we were just doing. So let's place the two blocks. Step your right foot forward between your blocks. Come through into Anjaneyasana. So in this case, you're going to have the hips coming towards the right heel, but not hammocking down into an overly lax position. So the hips, they come down, but there should be tone at the pelvic floor, at the lower belly. Press into your blocks to activate inner abdominal muscles. Lift your heart. You can gaze towards the horizon for the time being. Allow the breath to come down into your lower body so you can feel the inhalation meeting your hips and pelvis. Then coming into the mid-back, the sides of the torso. And curl the left toes under. As you next inhale, straighten your left leg and let the torso follow suit. So it's a long line from your back heel to the crown of your skull. And then press into your right heel. Inhale and slowly straighten your right leg, keeping the line of your spine and the crown of your skull. On the exhale, root down into both legs and pivot your left heel to the center line of your mat without disturbing the front leg. The movement of your left leg was a rotation in your hip socket. It did not need to jostle your right leg out to the side. Now rotate your pelvis to the left, and you can do that while your fingers are still on the block. So start turning your outer left hip back. Keep the outer right hip toned and strong. And we're going to keep the right fingertips on the block as we have them. Press into the right arm like before and start rotating the torso. And then let the left arm contribute. Tone the outer left hip as you reach down into your left heel. And also as you tone the left outer hip, think of it as energizing the right leg, right thigh, right calf, right foot. And keeping the left outer hip strong, sweep your left arm past your left ear. Deep breath in. And then exhale and bend your right knee. Bring your left fingertips back down to its block. Pivot the left heel up. Touch your left knee down. And step back to Vajrasana. And we're stepping back so that you can notice what's happened. You know, like it's when you're gardening, you step back and you check and see, okay, what am I designing here? So check and see now what is happening. It would be common to feel like a little bit altered, a little bit squishy, a little bit imbalanced because we've done one hemisphere of the pose. Let's go to the other side. So bring your left foot forward between your two blocks. Allow the hips to ease down towards your left heel, but not to be lax. It's not a Shavasana time. Stay with the Ujjayi breath, so it's a subtle and ongoing companion for you. Press into your fingertips to activate the inner belly. You ought to also feel the pelvic floor has tone here. The low belly has tone. We want the capacity to lift the back waist so we're not creasing or exploiting the lower back or the top of the sacrum. And curl the right toes under. And as you straighten the right leg, straighten it and just have the whole pose come into form here. So you're aligned from your heel, right heel, to the crown of your skull. And then inhale, straighten your left leg, press from your outer left hip into your outer thigh, outer calf, into the big toe, pinky toe. And then without jostling the left leg around, pivot your right heel about 45 degrees on the mat. Press into your fingertips and start rotating your right hip a little more open. Again, without moving the left hip around. Let's make the left arm strong. And as you press down through your left arm, let that rotate your torso to the right. So that didn't come from picking up the right arm, right? It came from the strength of the down arm, the left arm, and then float this arm up. It's like a variation on Trikonasana. They're all variations. We're all doing our own variation, in fact, as well. So stretch up. And then sweep your right arm past your right ear. Firm the right outer hip. So you're really rooting down from the outer right hip into your right foot, but also from the outer hip, send energy down into your left heel. That'll help your pose to feel really firmly established. And then exhale, bend your left knee. Glide the right fingertips down. Pivot the right heel up. Touch your right knee to the floor. And sit back to Vajrasana. This is where our scientist comes back to the laboratory and we ask, okay, how are things going? And perhaps you feel like prana is getting recalibrated. Maybe for you that you have places where there's a lot of prana and maybe in daily life you have less prana there. So you're like, oh, wow, I really am breathing into my belly. There's genuine access to that. Or wow, there's a lot of energy in the head. It's not so dull at the moment. Maybe you feel your upper back, and that might on other days feel kind of sleepy. Okay, so we're going to take a little adventure using the 2 blocks and a place at the wall, and this will be my wall spot here. For those of you who don't know what these images are, since it does bring attention to it, I'll point it out. This upper image is the stupa in Kathmandu in Nepal. The stupa around which there is a circular navigation. You can ambulate around and you can spin the prayer wheels that are all around the circle of the temple. And this is me spinning the prayer wheels. These are prayer wheels. And those are oil candles that are lit at a different Buddhist temple that we stopped at. But so this is Nepal and Kathmandu specifically. And this is India. So one side and then the other side. Okay, so how to use the 2 blocks. I'm going to ask you to take a seat at the baseboard or, at your door frame. If you're just using like a door frame like this, if that's all you have, maybe you're in the hallway somewhere in your home and all you got is that little sliver, then sit in the sliver. And where you can see the end of your heels happen to be, I'd like you to put a block there to note that. That's where the end of the heel is. It doesn't mean that that's where you're going to stand. It just means that's where the end of the heel is. Okay, and then bring the feet around without disrupting your blocks and come up to stand so that you're going to put the mounds of the toes in line with where the blocks were. You got it? I should have gotten a ponytail holder for class today. Okay, you got it? All right, great. So we will use the blocks on the medium setting because I do find it to be easier for people. So go ahead and come down to Uttanasana, turn the blocks on the medium setting, and now place them under your shoulders. So you just moved them. They're under the shoulders. Let's stand on the right leg really firmly. So press into all 5 toes, energize your right heel, right calf, right thigh, and float your left leg back up to the wall. And it should be right there. If you measured appropriately, you're going to find out what your detailed measurement is, where you place your right foot on the floor, because the left leg will just fit right into the spot that you left for it. Now with each block under the hands, I'd like you to check that you've got your block set up like a tripod. So your right hand, right foot, left foot make a tripod. Okay, press firmly down into your right leg. Press as firmly into your left heel on the wall. And lower the right arm. Let it dangle like an elephant trunk. Breathe in. Tone the right outer hip. Exhale, firmly press into your left arm. Let the rib cage rotate to the right. And then inhale, raise your right arm. The pose is called Parita Ardha Chandrasana. Keep the right side waist long. So you have to think of that because otherwise the right hip is going to shrink towards the right shoulder. Keep both legs strong and steady. Use the strength of the left arm. And then exhale and lower your right fingertips down to the block. You should not have to sway your hips back to center. They should have remained centered. So when you lower your left leg, the left foot lands right there next to the right foot. Okay. Now, because we made the tripod related to the right foot, let's make the tripod now related to the left foot. That means shift your block to the left. Energize your left leg. Raise your right leg. There should be a spot for it right there on the wall. Press firmly into the right foot against the wall and as firmly from your left hip down into your left heel. Okay, let's let the left arm dangle like an elephant trunk.
Breathe in. Then exhale, press into your right arm using the full strength that you have available. And inhale, raise your left arm. We don't drop the right hip, so the pelvis is relatively level in this pose. You also want to keep the left hip reaching back towards the right heel, so the left side waist is still spacious. And then exhale, lower your left fingertips down and float the right foot back to the floor next to the left foot. And if you were staying in your strength there, there'd be no reason to waver the hips left to right to bring the right foot back down. We'll come to Uttanasana. And then raise your hands to your hips and please rise up to standing. Okay. So that is called Parvrita Ardha Chandrasana. Parvrita is rotated. Ardha is half. Chandra is moon. So it's the revolved or rotated half moon pose. I don't see the moon shape there, but it's been the name given to me from quite some time ago. Parvrita Ardha Chandrasana. That can also be done on the floor like we did in the practice yesterday, the one that I was referring to before. It could be the practice that you use to precede this practice if you want to learn some of the other building blocks for that pose. Okay, we're going to do it one more time. You look ready, okay? Come into Uttanasana. Breathe in. Remind yourself that you would like to have more vitality and stamina and all those things. If you happen to step out of your position, just give a little check that you're still in position. And then with your next inhale, energize both feet, both legs, the outer hips, lengthen your spine. And then inhale, raise your left foot up onto the wall. Press firmly back with your left heel. It need not be any higher than your hip. So from your left heel to the crown of your skull is a relatively straight line accomplished by putting the blocks under the hands as well. Okay, let's breathe in. Exhale, let the right arm dangle. Exhale, strengthen your left arm. Rotate from the solar plexus, your thoracic spine, your shoulders. Raise your right arm. Notice the quality of the breath and the focus of your mind. And then exhale, bring the right fingertips down. Gracefully lower your left foot. Shift your tripod. That means move your blocks a little bit. Raise your right heel up to the wall. Let's breathe in, energize the left outer hip. Exhale, let the left arm dangle. And then inhale to twist open to your left. Keep the right hip lifted. Lengthen back through your left heel and forward through the crown of your skull. And then exhale and come down and float your right foot down. Return to Uttanasana. Now place the two blocks on the floor next to your feet. Bend your knees, cross your ankles, and come down, take a seat. Move your hair off your face if need be. So come down to take a seat, cross-legged. That means that the sitting bones are on the floor. You want to actually feel them there. There's important marma points there that help Vata dosha to come back down to the ground. And take your seat.
Notice the quality of breathing and all the body intelligence that's going on right now, all the myriad systems that have come into activation on behalf of your health, right? Your health, your vitality, your vibrancy. Okay, so with these two blocks we still have on this yoga mat, and we're still here at the wall spot. I'm going to turn my yoga mat so that you can see a little bit better, because we're going to need a bit more of the yoga mat this time. So where the baseboard is, and again, if you only have that little strip of door frame, you'll be able to still use that. Like if I had to just focus on that one section of the closet, I would still be able to use it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is sit at the baseboard one more time. Place your hips right at the wall. And take the blocks to measure where your heels are. Okay. Also, it's a good time to measure. If you're sitting at a wall, like here's a piece of art, you could say it's a photograph. When you're sitting at the wall here, if you were to put your elbow up, are you going to run into anything overhead? There's a reason you're going to want to know that. Okay, so that's where the heels are. You can see there's a little space right here for my feet. Yes, the feet are going to be there. So lean to your side, bring your feet back, and come to kneeling. There are your elbows and forearms. So you have the skin available there. Your head will not be on the floor in this experience that we're doing. The head is not touching. I'm saying that because my hair is going to respond to gravity and you'll not be able to see my head, but it will not be touching the floor. Okay, so now we put the elbows in line with the two blocks. Interlace your fingers. You can watch me, please. Then you're going to keep the elbows firmly fixed. We raise the hips. The torso heads towards the toes. It's okay if the knees need to be bent to get the torso to move. And then we're going to place the feet up on the wall so that your feet would mean that your hips are parallel to your thighs, calves, and heels. The head is not touching. I'm not sure if you can see that very well again because of my hair. But you must press down through both elbows. Keep the back waist broad and the feet strong. And then we step down. And we come back to kneeling. Voila, we made it. This is a good time for your kids to come see your yoga practice. What is mommy doing upside down? How did daddy climb up the wall? Okay, so those are some of the basics that you just saw. Here are some temptations people have. One is they start moving their elbows farther out because it feels too close to the wall. Another is they walk the feet farther up because they don't know if they have the upper body strength or the hamstring flexibility. The upper body strength is really specifically in your upper back. And you have the ability to press the elbows down and to bring the spine into thoracic extension, like a little bit of a back bend is there, a little bit right there in the thoracic spine, which is normally kyphotic. So it's going to feel like it's doing a little bit of a back bend. If you walk your elbows out too far, your feet might feel like they're sliding down the wall. If you walk the feet up too far, you might feel like you're going to nosedive onto your head and shoulders. So you really want to take the first step of getting the mechanics of being in the position. The second step is, can I put one foot up on the wall? Can I just try that? And if I do that without rushing at all, can I let the other toes dangle for a moment? Then can I put them also up on the wall? So let's do it in that order. If you sit back at the baseboard, there are your heels. This is your blocks are giving you the guidelines. So, like the guy at the airport with the orange cones for the airplane. Where does it go? Where's the runway? It's right here. Scooch the feet.
Place your elbows there. I know it feels snug. It feels like you're really close to the baseboard. Maybe your hamstrings are going to say, this isn't for us today. And you can watch me or watch other people who are in the class and smile at our efforts and enjoy. Or you can keep the knees bent. So as you pick up the hips, if you have tight hips or hamstrings, go ahead and bend the knees a lot. Even make your feet wider if you need to. Move the chest and heart towards the baseboard, towards your toes. Breathe in with a calm mind. Step one foot up to the wall, keep the knee bent. Step the other foot up to the wall, keep the knees bent for a moment. And then slowly, as you go to straighten your legs, do not let the head drop down to the floor. Press into the upper arms. Press down through your elbows, your wrists, your pinky fingers. And then bend the knees. Take the toes down to the floor, 1 foot at a time. Touch the knees down. Come up to kneeling. Voila, we can see that we have survived. It's like surfacing after scuba diving. Now we'll take one block for the head, like this. And then relax. Let the hips drop down to your heels. Rest the weight of your forehead on the blocks. Allow the breath to rhythmically return to harmony. So Balasana or child's pose is wonderful for bringing apana and prana back into balance after being inverted like that. So rest another minute there. Let it be really grounding for you. And walk your hands back towards your knees. Please rise up to kneeling. Let's bring a blanket onto this mat and we'll stay at the wall or the door frame, wherever you happen to be. But you want to be a little distance from the wall. Don't be right up against it. You'll know the distance that you need in a few moments. We'll start here. I'll know my distance in a few moments too. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to be turning to twist. And we want the fingertips to be able to find the wall. That was magical. Look, my fingers are at the right spot on the wall. Must be that 25 years of owning a yoga studio. Or 22 years, excuse me. Like a physical studio. 25 or 30 years of teaching in studios. So I'm the right distance from the wall to get my fingers to touch. And I will ask you to be able to have your fingertips on the wall, not your flat palm. So the hand will end up like this. Shoulder will be this way on the wall. Okay, great. So bring your right leg in front in Sukhasana, left leg. So right leg, left leg. Lift up through the spine. Cross your left hand to your right thigh. Pull up. So if you make this a firm cross, then you have to lift up on purpose. Not shrinking down, but lifting up. And then inhale to open. Place your fingertips on the wall.
to support your twist. You have a full sense of support. Both sitting bones should be grounded. Yeah. Lengthen up through the crown of your skull and allow the breath to be three-dimensional and to encompass the first, middle, and upper regions of the torso. So pelvic basin, mid-torso and back waist, the back of the heart, the front of the heart. And then exhale to unwind. And let's put the left leg on the outside, right leg on the inside. Notice when you let your arm down from that, because it was up. Isn't that a nice little warming sensation? That's Dhyana Vayu coming. Oh, let's re-inhabit. Right? Cross your left hand. Okay, rotate the torso, reach back through your right arm. The wall should be right there. As you're twisting, gaze over your right shoulder, left shoulder, excuse me. The right hand can be taut again, so you're pulling up through the spine. We're not just like settling down like a bean bag. We're pulling up through the spine, lengthen like a slinky. Keep both sitting bones grounded. And one more breath into the back hemisphere of the body. And then follow your exhale to unwind. Rest your hands on your knees. Stretch out both legs in front. Come over to Paschimottanasana. I'm going to back up so I'll stay on the screen. So, because my legs are so long. Come over to Paschimottanasana. And for those of you for whom your Paschimottanasana is quite limber, I'm going to make a recommendation. You can take a block or two and reach out to hold. So there's some kind of holding, some containing of the energy. So Paschimottanasana. We want to have feeling that the arms are stretched out and you are still opening the upper back in this pose. And slide back up to sitting. Okay, now we're going to do Viparita Karani. So that's a mild supported inversion. You don't need your blocks. You will want a blanket. Some of you might want to use a bolster instead of a blanket. And some of you may use 2 blankets instead of only 1 blanket. So let me get an extra bolster for myself.
So if you're going to use a bolster, the idea here would be that the bolster is going to go at the baseboard. So you would need a bolster or 2 blankets, or 1 blanket is also sufficient. That is appropriate for some people. You don't need the blocks anymore. Okay, so here's this. Now, a way to get into this position, and I have seen people make little landslides over the years about how to get into this position, a landslide of their body falling away from the wall. So what you're going to do is, I recommend anyway, you'll do what you do, but I recommend that you kneel facing the same way as the yoga mat. Then put your hips here. Please watch for a moment. I'm going to lie down like I'm on my side in bed in a kind of, we would call it fetal position. So like this. And then when you roll, you magically roll onto your back and you are already positioned to take the legs up the wall. I hope that's making sense for all of you. And then the arms are going to come out into a little sloping down T shape. It's a great time to turn your mind off by taking off your glasses. Also a good time to cover your eyes with an eye pillow if you have one. So the bolster or the blanket is supporting you. You can think of it like, oh, the back of the sitting bones, the sacrum, the up to the top of the sacrum, this region right here. So when you rest your hips onto the bolster or the blankets, you should feel like the hip bones right here are neutral. So if you touch the hip bones, they're not really tipping back into a posterior tilt, and they're not really angled into a big anterior tilt either. This is a lymph bath. It's also a recalibration of prana. It's a wonderful practice for insomnia or for concussions or anxiety or depression. This very simple pose is recommended in all of those circumstances. Allow yourself to be deeply nourished.
do establish your seat at the level that you need for your hips to be comfortable. You guys can come in if you want. Yeah. There's some kitten noses at the door there. And decide. Okay. Find your place inside. Relax to be supported by the blankets or the floor. Keep your spine erect but not tense, and gently bow your chin slightly towards your throat. So there's an inward turning attention. Raise your hands to your heart. Appreciate the efforts you've made in this practice, including the effort to be here, to set aside the time and to express your dedication in this way. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me and also with the community. This was a training class that we were having, a demonstration class. So they learned a number of things. We debriefed afterwards and they gave me some beautiful input about their experiences. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below the video as well. If you have questions or comments about the experience, please do put those down there. And if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do that too. If this practice was helpful to you, it's wonderful if you click the like button because that is good feedback for me. If yoga teacher training interests you, please check out the URL right here along the screen or in the description below the video. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.